I will call to order this meeting of the Community and Economic Development Authority. Next item on our agenda is a roll call.
Cleary?
Here.
Garcia Sierra? Here. Hamilton?
Here.
Hardy?
Here.
Maldonado?
Here.
Potts?
Here.
Udell?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. The next item on our agenda is election of a chair and vice chair. So every year we go through and we have elections for a chairperson and vice chairperson of this authority. I guess I would open the floor to nominations for the office of chair. I would respectfully decline that.
Okay.
If technically not, but sort of by agreement, it's 2 terms for chairperson. So I've served 2 terms, so. I guess if no one else will make the motion, I would make a motion for Jennifer Cleary to be the chairperson of CETA.
Second.
Okay. I think, do we usually do chair and vice chair at the same time, or have we done them as separate? Separate? Okay. Are there any other nominations for the office of chair? Are there any other nominations for the office of chair? Seeing none, we'll have voting on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed,
Aye.
nay. Congratulations, Jennifer.
Thank you.
I will turn it over to you for the election of the vice chair.
Oh, boy. Okay. All right. Are there any nominees for the vice chair today? Don't be so excited, everyone.
Yeah, I would be willing to do it if no one else wants to do it. But it would also open it up to anyone else.
I nominate Andy.
I second. Are there any other nominations? All right, everyone in favor say aye.
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 Everyone opposed, nay. All right, Andy Potts, Vice Chair. We're going to move on to the next agenda item of approval of minutes from March 23rd, 2023. Any motion to approve?
Second.
All right. And then can we go on to public appearances then? Or do we need to vote on that still?
Yep, we need a vote.
Okay. All right, everyone in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? All right, and then we'll move on to item 5, public appearances, non-agenda items. Is there anyone in?
No one in the chambers are registered.
All right, thank you so much. And we're going to move on to item number 6, resolutions and ordinance. Resolution R 9523, referencing extending the life of tax increment district number 15 by 2 months to improve housing quality and affordability.
Then do you want to entertain a motion for approval in a second?
Okay.
Then we'll go into discussion on it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second? Perfect. Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
No, I'll give you the background now.
Oh, just
Then we'll
kidding.
vote.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Got excited.
Yeah, okay. Our finance director, Misty, is out at a conference this week, so this is another extension of tax incremental district number 15, which was the previous town of Madison TID that Fitchburg inherited at the end of October. That then was number 15 in our sequence of TIDs. And what we're looking to do is the extension for TID for housing. And in the narrative, there's an additional $600,000 that would be going into our affordable housing fund. And we'll know the definite amount at the end of December of 2023. And the funds are expected to be used similar to the TID 4 extension to further meet the goals of our housing plan, including potential programs to incorporate affordable units within market rate apartment buildings, reinvest and rehabilitate multifamily affordable rental housing stock, and then also potentially energy efficiency audits and upgrades of existing housing. You might remember we did this with TID number 6 from Orchard Point, and then we also did TID number 4, the big one here around Fitchburg Center and traversing over to Highway 14. So this will be our third, and this will bring us probably about close to $7.5–8 million in our TID for housing fund that we'll be able to use for those types of programs. Any questions? Seeing none, then, Madam Chair, I think we'd be ready for a vote.
Perfect. All right, so let's vote. For favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries then. And then we'll move on to the next agenda item. And that's going to be, item number 7, tax increment financing, the proposed TIDS update. So, Mike, I'm assuming that's you again?
Yes. Yeah, I'll take that over. And one thing I will mention on TID number 15, we did the housing extension, but then we will also be closing that tax increment district this year as well. So Misty's already got that in the queue, and I'll be reporting on the new TID that we'll be creating there under this report. But we're going to start with TID number 10 first, and I'm going to hopefully share my screen here. And then take you through some of the maps. We've got all the information over to Ellers, and they'll be putting now together the draft project plans for each of the respective TID districts that we're creating in 2023. And the process will start with a public hearing at the Plan Commission on July 18th, and then we're expecting final consideration by the Joint Review Board sometime in August, the exact date to be predetermined yet. But as you know, we've had a TID district in place on North Fish Hatchery Road. It originally started up here with the darker blue, if you can follow my cursor here. And it was the small one that was for the church site up here that we were anticipating. And then we went and expanded the district to cover the area that involved the North Fish Hatchery Road reconstruction, a generational reconstruction of the main thoroughfare. Just note there, it's an award-winning road. We've won 3 different awards for that road already through WISDOT and various engineering associations. This next amendment, which would be amendment number 2, and we can have up to 4 amendments for tax increment districts, and this is a rehabilitation district. So what we're planning to do is add the red area here at the Beltline of Fish Hatchery Road that was previously in the town of Madison, that as of October 31st last year is now officially the city of Fitchburg. So we've got the Zimbrick dealerships, Kavanaugh Supply, and Badger Sporting Goods up here. So we'll be adding that area, and then we're bringing in this area west of Index Road that previously wasn't in the TID. And then we've got 2 other little lots here to just kind of square out the boundary. So that's those are the parcels that we'll be adding in this amendment. Then this next map shows, first of all, the kind of cross-hashed area is the half-mile boundary. We just have to identify that in case there's any public improvements that would be invested in that are outside the TID district but within the half-mile boundary. So the half-mile boundary is showing that boundary within the city of Fitchburg, not the city of Madison portions there. But a couple of the key projects infrastructure projects that would be part of this amendment would be, if you've driven on Bryant Road up here between the Zimbrick dealerships and Kavanaugh and Badger, up there it's in desperate need of reconstruction. So we've got that included, and our engineering department will be working with probably a consulting firm to determine the best possible up there. It's probably not going to meet all the kind of engineering specifications just because of the geographic area, and there's some limitations as far as what we've got to work with, but definitely it'll be upgraded from what it was or what it is, and then a resurfacing of that. And then the other item is we just got a stretch of this kind of green line traversing here. We've got some additional bus shelters that we are looking to place within the corridor as well. So those are kind of two of what we would classify as more of the public infrastructure items there. Then the next map, this one shows kind of some of our priority sites within the tax increment district. And the one I just want to call out in the area that is new territory added for the amendment is number 67 here. And the reason we've got that one added, that's where Venture Capital has already broken ground for the Avalon apartments. And that's going to be about 170 market rate apartments. But one of the things that we're going to be working on, and we have a scope of services with Ellers, is a potential pilot program of one of our tracks for affordable housing to incorporate affordable units, 10% of them at 60% of median income. So, but for our potential TID participation, this will be a market rate building. But if we ultimately get this TID amendment approved and we have our parameters for the affordable with the market rate program established, then we're going to work with Mike and Netta and Venture Capital to potentially pilot that program in this new building here. And then I just have a list of the actual project cost kind of items. We've got about $150,000 in there for some site-specific visioning and implementation. That might be for the 2800 block on the east side where the Restaurant Association Tavern League building is. We're still trying to get that project jump-started for a complete redevelopment of those three sites up there. We've added another $5 million for development incentives. In this amendment, we've already got $25 million in the original and First Amendment of the plan, so that gets carried over, and this is hopefully to help us drive redevelopment projects throughout the corridor. I think as we've reported before, with what we already have in the ground, with new valuation up there, we already know that we can cash flow the district and pay for the $29 million road reconstruction. So now the real emphasis is on how do we really maximize the redevelopment, revitalization opportunities in the corridor. Then we've got the Bryant Road reconstruction. That needs some stormwater management up there, and then the bus shelters and some of the wayfinding that we're doing. The development incentives would only be tapped into if we have an actual project that it's tied to. We don't do speculative kind of development incentives. It would be based on our TIF process and parameters where the developer would bring forward a project, they would put down a deposit, go through the Ellers analysis, a pro forma analysis, and but-for, and it would be with a pay-as-you-go developer bond and negotiate a TIF developer agreement. So any questions on TID number 10, Second Amendment? Just mention it. Yeah.
I guess I wanted to just mention in the development incentive category, we also, Mike and I have been talking about some possible programming for a grant to CETA for a few different things, like possibly a revolving loan fund, maybe assistance for purchase of real estate and some other things. So just wanted to share that with you as well. We might be bringing some other things forward for consideration. Just
to echo what Joyce was mentioning, I know the Mayor Hooley has talked to me about the possibility of looking at land banking. Would we ever look to purchase and acquire some property or put an option on a property to control it and then issue an RFP? Madison has done that successfully on East Washington, Park Street, and a couple of other corridors. So the question is, does the TIF have the capacity to do that? But that might be something that we look to do in the future up there. But we'll keep you posted on the development of any of those kind of programs coming forward. Now we're going to shift geographically over to the Southdale neighborhood. This is where we just closed, or we will be closing TID number 15. So the new one over in that area will be TID number 16. And here you can see the parcels that we're looking to bring back in a new TID district. So we got Rimrock Road to the east, latitude 43 that runs through kind of the heart of the district, along with Novation Parkway. When the annexation occurred at the end of October, there were also some parcels on the east side of Rimrock Road. So those are coming in they're in Fitchburg and will be in the TID district here along Maloney Drive. And then we connected through some of the multifamily here. We've got some older single-family lots that are identified for commercial use in the Southdale neighborhood plan that was drafted probably about 10 years ago. And then we get to kind of the frontage along Highway 14, some of the self-storage that's been there for a long time right here at the frontage road, Ski Lane, and Highway 14. And then we meander around and come up to the frontage road along the belt line. And there's two buildings up here that are in kind of desperate need of rehabilitation or redevelopment of those sites. And we're also hoping that maybe this older traditional self-storage is a major redevelopment site in play in the future as well. So we shift to the next map. Here again is that half-mile boundary. And one thing I should point out is running through the heart of this district in the Southdale neighborhood, this here is the rail line. So we had to identify that as railroad right-of-way for the Department of Revenue as we go through the tax increment district approval process. But some of the public improvements that are envisioned in this district would be, we need to do an extension of latitude 43. Right now, that just dead ends. So there would be an extension of that. That involves kind of a major utility relocation as well. But that'll be one public infrastructure improvement item. We also have kind of wrapping around the district our placemaking elements. That's kind of the red hashed area. This area doesn't necessarily have some of the wayfinding, placemaking, signage, bus shelters that we have in other areas of the city. So we want to hopefully enhance the kind of placemaking and wayfinding in this neighborhood now that it's officially part of the city of Fitchburg. And then the other thing that we're looking at is how do we create a safe way for the biking, cycling community. We've got the Cap City Trail that traverses east-west here. And how do we kind of connect that artery into the Southdale neighborhood safely so people can traverse? So our Public Works Department has determined there's a way to do kind of a boardwalk type feature from the Cap City Trail here by McCoy Road and traverse north along MM up into Ski Lane here and create some better connectivity and do that in a safe manner for the cycling community. So those are kind of the major public improvement items that are envisioned in the district. And then this shows the priority sites here. And hopefully after the TID district is created, we've got a couple of projects that are kind of in the queue that are percolating out there as they're doing kind of their project performance and analysis. Potentially another building to the west of Rutabaga. That would be a mixed-use building, potentially some affordable housing within there, and then commercial space. We also have a climbing gym that's looking at site number 20, lot number 20 here. Some other probably multifamily housing that would be on 21. And then over here on the east side of Rimrock Road along Maloney Drive, there's somebody that's looking at a ownership townhome product. They would have to go through, and are working with Deanna and our planning department, to go through a minor comp plan amendment to change the land use designation from low density to high density on this site. They're looking to do about 22 or 24 townhome units, which would be just the lower end of that high density land use designation on that site. But then hopefully we continue to see the purple here would allow for some office flex, kind of science and technology kind of use. The Alexander Company has identified Site 1 potentially for some other commercial mixed use, possibly a hotel in this area. And then this could potentially be for more office commercial, depending on the market in that segment and area. And then over here we've got kind of more multi-story mixed use envisioned on the horizontal storage site, and then with the two buildings on the frontage road here. So those are kind of the priority development sites. But we'll definitely, hopefully, be kicking off with something here in the fall once the TID district is created with these lots in the green. And we've been working closely with the Alexander Company on some of the development assumptions for that area. Here you can see the project costs. And one of the big ones is Maloney Drive. That needs, it was supposed to be up for resurfacing, but we're going to hold off till next year and do a complete reconstruction of it. We've got the development incentive category. Here again in this district, that would only be tapped for projects, bird in hand projects that we know are coming forward. One of the things we added and are working with our colleague Deanna in the planning department is that Southdale neighborhood plan is somewhat out of date, so we've included some dollars to do an update to that plan. Then we've got the wayfinding and placemaking. We've got the multi-use path for the cycling, and then we've got the Latitude 43 extension there, so you can see the kind of the total project cost of about $13 million in the district. But hopefully this continues to drive a lot of good momentum happening in Southdale there, and hopefully this continues to drive additional redevelopment and revitalization in the neighborhood. And as Joyce pointed out, we've got in this category, again, there might be some dollars for programming for CETA to drive some additional commercial development to be determined yet, as far as what those programs might be and involve. But we just wanted to have some capacity in case we develop some program ideas that would make sense in this neighborhood. Any questions from CETA members on this one? Seeing none, we will move to TID number 17. And usually we only create one TID at a time. It's unprecedented that we're creating three simultaneously here. But what's positive about this is all three of them are in areas that developed when Fitchburg was really still a town, or also in the town of Madison. And we're really going in and focusing on reinvestment, rehabilitation, and revitalization. And they also complement our healthy neighborhood areas. So they're priorities for the city. So on the west side of Fitchburg, along Verona Road, 18151, we originally started out just looking at, we were going to create a tax increment district on the west side of Verona Road. The reason being that the generational reconstruction of Verona Road was complete, and a lot of our buildings are kind of backwards with their orientation and entrances with facing to the east at Verona Road, but the access really now is from the west off of Anton Drive. So we kind of started there up on the northern section here at Williamsburg Way, where we've got Lickertown, we've got the former Quick Trip site, and then we come down the highway here with the BMO Bank, and then all the way down to the vacant lot just north of the Class A office building that Dale Benjamin did here at the corner that has KL Engineering and Power Line Systems there. And then we brought in vacant land in between KPEC and King James Way here. And the philosophy on this side of the road, this is encompassed by our Anton Drive redevelopment plan, which we worked on during the Verona Road reconstruction. And the reason we did that plan was sometimes when you have major access changes like this, the neighborhood can kind of go in two different directions. It can go to a lower level of development and less intensity, or you can hopefully drive it to a higher level of development. And that's really the vision in the Anton redevelopment plan, is to transform this neighborhood. And that Class A office building that Dale Benjamin did at the corner really is the example of the direction that we want to go. Now, we realize since Dale did that building and since the Anton plan, that the office market has changed significantly post-COVID. So one of the things as we get to the project costs you'll see is we've got some dollars to have an updated market analysis done for this neighborhood and corridor to see what are those uses and that make sense, and what are the types of uses that we can drive through the use of tax increment district here. And I'm already having conversations about these parcels here with some developers that would be hopefully kind of multi-story, higher density mixed-use buildings in this area, and hopefully would result in kind of a master plan for these lots all here in the middle. But those are the parcels on the west side of Verona Road. Then we're using Verona Road to go to the east to connect, and we're bringing in the Saris property, and then we traverse over to, this is the Thermo Fisher land over here. And then we've included the Playcon campus here, and then also CertCo as well. And we've been in contact with both of them. And then we come to the south here, south of McKee Road, and we've brought the theater property in the parking lots, the overflow of the theater. And then we also brought in lot number 39 here, which has most recently been leased by Promega Corporation, but they've just ended the lease on that property. So that's one of the few kind of vacant buildings that we have in the city of Fitchburg that's been getting interest from some of the prospects that we've been working with, and also that the prospects that we get from WEDC and or Mad Rep, that's one that we've submitted for at least one, maybe two prospects that are out there. So that's kind of the geographic boundary of the new TID number 17. And this area on the east side of Verona Road is covered under our Arrowhead neighborhood plan and kind of the guiding parameters and principles of that plan. Then we switch to the next map, which shows that half-mile boundary again. And then the infrastructure items that we would be looking to include in the new TID number 17. So one here is the Anton Drive kind of resurfacing along this corridor here. And then we'd also be looking to bring in sidewalk. And again, these are some of the public improvements that were identified in the Anton redevelopment plan. We'd also have sidewalks here along King James Way. And then depending on the intensity of development, there's the potential for a roundabout here at King James Way and Anton. And then this little purple line here is a right turn lane from KPEC onto Fitchrona Road. Then we've got a multi-use path that hopefully as development occurs on the reclamated quarry site here north of McKee Road and west of Fitchrona Road, that there would be a multi-use path that would help people traverse to and through the neighborhood. And then we also have along McKee Road a left turn lane to facilitate movements here. And then we've also got additional sidewalk widening and extension of sidewalk to create better pedestrian access throughout this corridor. We didn't bring the quarry site into the TID district. We wanted to keep that for There's a gentleman and a company out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, Coburn Hundley, that's working on a comprehensive development plan for this 37 acres here. But we wanted to leave that hopeful future valuation an increment to go right to the general fund and not within the TID district there. But a lot of the activity that would occur here and that would occur in the district kind of interact. And that's why we've got these public improvements, and some of them are paid for through the TID and some are outside the TID there. And then as we shift to the east side, there's a power line relocation here or undergrounding that would need to be done. And the reason for that would be done is whenever CERTCO would be ready for a future expansion of their facilities to the north, this power line at a minimum needs to be relocated here, if not undergrounded. And that was one of the elements that was identified in the Arrowhead plan some years ago for it. Gets a little tricky because CERTCO is an Alliant customer for electric. They're the only one on kind of the east side of Verona Road. It's some historical quirk there, but it's an MG&E line that runs through there. So that's kind of the economics and who's responsible for what gets a little complicated on that. But we've got some capacity here for if that is needed at that point in time. So that's the half mile and the infrastructure improvements. Now we have kind of the priority sites here, and you can see some of these lots that I was talking about that hopefully we will lead off with some projects once the TID district is created. Lot number 20 has been getting some interest, but it's been more low intense kind of use. So hopefully this tax increment district will be something in our toolkit to kind of drive that to still be a multi-story building that would complement the Class A office building that is just to the south. And then we've identified some of those long-term, lower intensity historical uses like the mini warehouses and car wash over here, and then also up here on the northern end of the corridor, and then eventually up here at Williamsburg Way, and then in the future, CERTCO expansion, and then hopefully a project on the Thermo Fisher property that they have here. So those are some of the priority sites that have been identified and there have been some conversations about. And then we switch to the project costs again, and we've got the Anton Drive work that would be part of it. A lot of engineering stuff in here that we got from our colleagues in the Public Works Department. We've got the bucket for the development incentives. Here again, it would only be tapped if there's a specific bird in hand project to point to. Some additional placemaking. We've got the Anton market study and analysis update. And then we've got some projects that fall within the half-mile radius of the district as well. And those have to be called out and identified in the project plan by state statute. So any questions on TID number 17, Anton Arrowhead? Just knowing that we're looking to create these districts is already helping to generate interest in the district. So hopefully we are ultimately successful in getting them approved by our taxing entity partners through the Joint Review Board. And like I said, we'll kick off with a public hearing in July at the Plan Commission, and then final consideration of the Joint Review Board in August of this year, and then all three TID districts will be in place after that. A lot of work, but work that can have long-term impacts, positive impacts for the community. And it's a tool that Fitchburg has used successfully multiple times, and the benefits of those TID districts live on, as you just saw earlier in our agenda, where it's not only the benefits of what we accomplish while the TID district is open, but it's also the affordable housing what we've added to our affordable housing fund. And then I think the council has also been positive about the kind of one-time dollars in the last year when we're closing TID districts for some additional resources to be able to do some of those projects and initiatives that we can't always get funding for through our kind of annual budget that allows us to do some of those projects. So a lot of positive benefits with the use of TIF that we've had. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen. And we just wanted to give you an update. We already got the TID 10 draft project plan. We're expecting to see 16 and 17 come through, working with our partners at Ellers on that.
And I just want to give a shout out to Dakota Dorn in our GIS department. He put together all those maps for us, and we probably caused him a little bit of heartache because we were constantly asking him to kind of do updates. It was his first time doing it and our first time kind of directing him on what we needed to do. So I just wanted to thank him publicly for his work.
And just to piggyback on Joyce's, thanks to multiple departments, planning, public works, finance, administration, legal, clerk. The TID districts really traverse multiple departments, assessing, administration. So it's a team effort to collect and gather all of that information. So thanks to everybody for their help and participation on that. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, if there are no additional questions on the tax increment financing, we're going to move on to item number 8, hotel room tax report considerations, and we're going to send it back to you, Michael.
Okay. Thank you. And we just wanted to give you an update. The first quarter has closed, and on the room tax report that Joyce sent to you, you can see that we had a very healthy first quarter in 2023 at $82,935, which is a 25% increase over 2022. So we continue to recover and rebound from the COVID impact. Our high year again was back in 2019 when for the complete year we collected $525,354. Last year we were back to about 93% of that high number, and we're anticipating this year will be fully recovered, and that's kind of tracking with what Destination Madison, our regional partner, is experiencing as well. So very positive for us. Down below on the first page there, it shows that 66 was collected through report date. The additional 16,612 there you can see is also collected. It just came in the mail like a day or two after the official date, but all the dollars for the first quarter have been collected for him. And then under the expenditures, into the blue section there, we've just got some things highlighted under the actual column. Some of our publications and dues and subscriptions have been paid for this year. We've got public info and education, some expenses there. And then we have part of Joyce and my salary are allocated to the room tax dollars. So they each quarter a certain amount comes or is transferred to the general fund for that. And then there's also an IT allowance that we've already paid part of the dollars that were charged for that. And that's kind of for our header page on the Fitchburg webpage, where we've got kind of a more prominent section for economic development. And then you can see down below where we had money in the bank there for the sports infrastructure fund, and our $50,000 has been paid now to B-Cycle on the launch, and committee member Mark Hamilton's going to give us a little update on that later. You can see that draws down that balance. And that was a fund that we were building up back when we had increased our room tax when they launched the Madison Area Sports Commission, but we're no longer building up that sports infrastructure fund at this point in time. So any questions on the room tax report? Well, one thing I will mention is in June, I may come with a request for, last month we toured the McKenzie Regional Workforce Center, And they've got the grand opening and celebration happening on, is it July 15th, I think is the date for that. And we may be looking at the possibility of getting a table to have a presence there. They're going to be a great partner from a workforce development and economic development standpoint. So I've got some of the sponsorship information, but we're trying to get some better details on that. So if it's okay with this group, I may look to make a commitment on that and come back with the forward request in June. I think we were all impressed after the tour of that facility of how they've transformed that former Thermo Fisher building and just the mission with the building trades and also the Boys and Girls Club. I think complements and resonates with a lot of our activities and efforts here. So a great partnership and I think future collaborations with them. That's it for the hotel room tax.
Perfect. So thank you, Mike. And we're going to move on to item number 9, Economic Development Director and Committee Member Reports. So, Mike.
Okay, just a couple of things on the housing front. We continue to do due diligence at the request of administration, finance, and legal on the potential Fitchburg rent-to-own townhome program. We had issued 2 legal RFPs, one for public finance and one for real estate services, to really identify the potential risks of a program like that, risks not only to CETA, but also to the city of Fitchburg. And so we had issued 2 RFPs. We received 1 submittal from Quarles, and we're going to be meeting with them tomorrow in a Zoom meeting with our housing advisors, Mike Harrigan and Steve Affelbach from H&A Advisors, to go through that submittal for both RFPs. And then hopefully, if that conversation goes well, we would proceed with the first work element of each of those RFPs, which is really to review the risks that Mike and Steve have identified, identify are there any other risks, and then hopefully they help us look at strategies, recommendations of how we could manage or mitigate those risks. That's a request that we've had from administration. Then hopefully once we've gathered that information, we would come back to the policymakers and share that information in the due diligence that we've gathered and just take a pulse check of do they want us to continue with the next elements of those legal RFPs, which would mean that we wanted to move forward with a potential pilot project. And then they would do further work like what would be the kind of the contracts that we would have for a pilot project with a developer builder, a management company, and those types of things. So we'll keep you posted. Joyce and I have been spending a lot of time on this, and we're still trying to make progress. We have multiple kind of areas in the city, I think, that would like to work with us if we ultimately get support to do a pilot project. But right now we're continuing that due diligence. We want to try and identify the risk factors and how we can mitigate them as much as possible to manage the risk to the city and balance that with the potential rewards of a program. But we're not sure what the comfort level ultimately will be with the policymakers when we take it forward. Then the other thing on the housing front is, and this goes with TID number 10, with the Venture Capital Avalon building that I mentioned. That's going to be a market rate building, but we have a scope of services that we're going to have a meeting on to launch the developing the program with our financial advisors, Ellers, on Monday, June 5th. And this would be the program that would look to incorporate new affordable housing units within market rate buildings, 10% of the units at 60% of median income. So we're going to work with Ellers to hopefully define what those program parameters would be, and then also determine, is this a program that we would run through active existing TID districts and or also through using our TID for housing dollars there. So we're going to be working with Greg and Keith Dahl and Frank Roman at Ellers to see if we can put a program together that has a comfort level and kind of works within our TID parameters, kind of our standard parameters. But this could be a really good model. We learned about this through tour with John Flad with his buildings in Shorewood Hills the Boulevard and the Lodge, where he worked with Shorewood Hills with TIF participation on this type of program, and it seems to be doing very well. And again, a good way to add more affordable units in different areas. A couple of events coming up. Tonight is National Wine Day at Decor. I sent you an invite last night, and it's a chance to meet the folks that are going to be opening up Flight, which is going to be a new wine and bourbon bar in Terra Vesa. They're going to be providing the wine this evening. And then the summer concert series kick off in June that our partner, the Fitchburg Chamber Visitor Business Bureau plans. So the first one is on Monday, June 19th at McKee Farms Park. And this one has Soul to the Bone is the first band. And then there's another one in July with, what is the date of that one, Joyce? July 17th, and it's the People Brothers Band. And that one is going to be, they're going to be serving some cake in honor of Fitchburg's 40th anniversary as a city. So definitely come out for that one. And then we've got the last one on August 21st with the Orchestra Sol del Mod. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but yeah. But some good events. They get a great turnout for these concerts and really good for the community. And then the last thing I'll mention on some of the events is our Fitchburg Festival of Speed is coming up on July 8th. And thanks to this group again for supporting and providing the dollars for fireworks. And I think I sent a flyer out to you. Yeah, I sent a flyer out, and here it is. Although it doesn't show up real well with my virtual background there. But we're working to get the word out about Fitchburg Community Fireworks. And we're encouraging family, friends in Fitchburg and everything to come out. You don't have to come out all day for the races unless you want to. Of course, you're always welcome for that. But definitely come for kind of the end of the races. It's kind of exciting to see the end of the races and then stay for the food, beverages, the entertainment. There's some great bands, the lineup, and then that'll culminate with fireworks right after the entertainment ends. So bring your family and friends out for that event and help us get the word out on that. And then the other event this summer that's always very popular is the Agora Art Fair, which is going to be on August 10th. And that's down, or August 19th, sorry, down here at the Agora with our partners at Fitchburg Center and the Fitchburg Chamber. So those are the various events. Okay. Andy?
I just wanted to mention, too, another event this past weekend was Kids Building Wisconsin at McKee Farms Park. I don't know that I ever heard a final attendance, but it had to be in the thousands. And there's two points on that. One, that I believe was originally started with assistance from CETA on their inaugural year. It's one of those room tax grants that we issued, and then it's really just taken off on its own since kind of our initial investment. But then since you mentioned the McKenzie Workforce Center, I noticed they actually had a booth there, and we're promoting their facility through that Kids Building Wisconsin event.
Okay. And then there's the Boys and Girls Club ride as well, that same day. Right, yeah.
8,292. Let's turn that on there. 8,292 with 350 plus volunteers, 60 exhibits. It was packed. We took our kids there. It was packed.
And I think Jennifer Joyce has a couple of things.
So I just wanted to let you know, as part of our 40th anniversary celebration, we've been reaching out to some of our businesses in Fitchburg to see if they would be willing to do like open houses or some type of event. We have some unique businesses that we'd like to showcase. So yes, this week we met with Kelly Moss I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Kelly Moss, but they're a Porsche racing team, and they also have a shop over here on Clayton Road. So on June 17th, they're going to partner with Fitchburg Center to have a car show. So we have a 40th anniversary page on the city website. And so if you guys wouldn't mind just sharing the word that if people want to know about activities that are taking place throughout probably the next year-ish, direct them to that page. We're going to be reaching out to a few more, and we've got some exciting things planned. So if you can monitor that page, that'd be great. This week, Jeremy and I were on 2 meetings about broadband. One was with Dane County and their consultant, AECom, talking about possibly some strategies for expanding broadband. And then we also went to the Internet for All. It's the governor's Wisconsin listening tour. And that was a great meeting. We sat at a table with a representative from Senator Baldwin's office, and then 2 people from the PSC and a person from ARP. And they gave us about 5 or 6 questions to answer. And this was one of the meetings that I walked away that I actually felt like we were being heard about the challenges with broadband. So kind of keep an eye on that as well. And then I feel like there was something else, but I'm old and I can't remember. So if I think of it, I'll pipe in. Okay.
All right, if there's.
Oh, I do remember what it is now, Jennifer.
Perfect.
In June, you'll probably be getting a referral as well for the city to apply for a community development grant for the Wisconsin Latino Chamber of Commerce. We've been working with them on putting together, the city has to apply for the grant, and then we can pass it through. So watch for that one as well.
All right, Joyce, anything else, or Mike, anything else you want to add?
Just a question on that one, the timing of things. If we needed to bump up the CETA meeting by a week, does that work for folks' calendars?
What date is that?
The Thursday before?
In June?
Yeah. Just because I think our meeting falls after the council meeting, and, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Works.
Oh, no, I guess we're okay. Right. June 22nd, because the council is the 27th, right? Okay. Okay, so we're good. We'll keep the meeting as is. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And then Mark was going to, under reports, give us an update on the B-cycle program.
No, I'm not going to do a screen share. I'm going to give a very quick update on B-cycle. As Joyce asked me to prepare something. So it's been a busy April and May in Fitchburg with our B-cycles. After 3 years of planning, we put 55 cycles up around the city, and they are located at Limerick, Terravessa, the McKee Park, Oak Bank, the Fitchburg Chamber at Agora, Wyndham Hill, and Hatchery Hill. There's 55 cycles up, and they have been getting, what I understand, a lot of use. Second of all, we had a ribbon cutting on May 10th that was very well attended with folks from the city, our alders, neighborhoods, and reps that kicked it off officially. And then in the fall, we're going to go to what I'm going to call some underserved areas of the city with access to cycles for the TAP grant program, which the city was able to obtain from the feds for the Transportation Alternatives Program. We're going to have 50 to 55 come from that, and we're looking at putting them at the BGC on Allied Drive, the neighborhood hub site. We're still working on that. I know the neighborhood hub project's kind of moving around, but we're going to put something over there. Swan Creek Park, the Dolly Hub, the city campus, we're going to try and put it both at the library and down here at the senior center. And then lastly, we're going to look at Southdale down the road. We're trying to figure out how to connect that. I think Mike's comment about the bike path of some sort going up County MM. Is that right, MM? Is that MM? MM is going to be a must because as I talk to people in Southdale, they don't feel connected with the bikeway, and there is no way. And Rimrock Road's not the best to ride on, nor is MM. So there's a lot going on. We're going to continue to monitor these sites and see where they go and if we need to put more. I want to also stress the first group of B-cycles that went out were with corporate donations. So we cited some of them, for example, like at Terra Vesa or at the Limerick. And then CETA, of course, as you know, gave some seed money to kick this off, and Mike reported on that earlier. So with the business help in the community, we got the first group started. With the federal grant we applied for and we were getting the second group going. My sense is there may be more down the road, but if you look around, you're seeing a lot of white and black bikes. And as I said last week at the ribbon cutting, you're seeing a lot of what's being called e-bike smiles, and everybody goes by, they're enjoying riding these bikes, they're enjoying getting out. So I think it adds to the livability of our community. Hopefully, people will use them to go to our business communities and not take their car. So we'll see where it all goes. So any questions about B-Cycle?
Not specifically a question, but Mark, great job in everything that you've been doing, and it's really taken off, and I get so excited when I walk through the park and see the little bikes. So a great job on all your effort there.
Thank you. It was a joint effort. It wasn't just my effort. So it actually started with a brainstorming session 6 years ago with Angela Kinderman and Mike. So thank you. That's it.
All right, so we'll move on to item number 10, announcements. Any announcements here?
One other thing that might be coming in the June meeting, I'm not sure on the exact timing of it, but there is work being done on a potential tree preservation ordinance that may wind its way around to various committees in the city here. So if that's ready, that might be on our June agenda or maybe at a later date. I'm not sure on the exact timing of it, but we'll keep you posted on that one.
Mike, or Jennifer, if I can give one other update, not related to cycles. I'm also working with the Boys and Girls Club ride or move for BGC that Mike mentioned. It's July 15th, and we will be doing a run, a walk, and 3 bike rides through the city, where the city's already given us the permit at McKee, because there's going to be, we've been there now for like 15 years, so it's been ongoing for a while, but it's going to go through 4 of our neighborhoods. Randy's going to be going through Seminole Forest, for you and Jim to know that, Swan Creek, Seminole Ridge, and Wildwood, as people move and groove around the city. And then there'll be it's all tied to the grand opening of this McKenzie Center. There will be a band, VO5, will be playing in the park from 11 to 2. And I think you can buy tickets to go see that if you don't want to move or groove. But it is a fundraiser, and it used to be about 1,200 people before COVID. Now it's down to about 800, but it's still a lot of people. So just to I'll send a note to all the alders, Randy, so everybody knows what's going on. We're working with the police, and we've done this enough. We kind of know what we need to do, but we do go through those 4 neighborhoods from about 8:30 to 11-ish that morning.
So, Mark, quick question for that. I participated in it 2 years ago, and there were some complications on the route and the labeling from race day. Is that something that is being acknowledged? Because there were a few groups that got lost.
Correct. I hate to say this, but I'm chair of the routes committee, and we know what happened, and we know what transpired. We had a group go the wrong way, and it's kind of like, following the herd. The other group went with them. So yes, we know that. We're working up to about 40 volunteers. So if we get everybody there, and we've got the police at our key intersections like Fish Hatch, Seminole, and as we even get out into the county, we work with the Dane County Sheriff. So, yeah, we know what happened, and there was a sign that was put up wrong, and without forcing blame, we know, we didn't have any last year. It was 2 years ago. So,
Perfect. Thank you.
yep.
Any other announcements? Perfect. So we'll move on to item number 11, which is adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Everyone in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Meeting adjourned.